Hong Kong horse racing, Jason Richardson, Clint Hutchison, the hutchieshonkers.com and the Hall of Famer in RSI, looking back at the week that was, looking forward to Hong Kong racing on Sunday, catching up with some star power and Umberto Rispoli with an eye, formerly from Hong Kong, but with an eye towards a fascinating weekend of racing with the Kentucky Oaks and, of course, the Kentucky Derby. Lots to talk about. Hutch, did we have a winning week? Did you have a winning Sunday? Did you have a winning Wednesday?
Sunday was difficult with the conditions, so we had one or two results early, then it sort of petered away. Wednesday was a disaster. So,
well, I tell you what, congratulations for Wednesday. I've never seen a man tip more seconds. That was a world record performance.
Yeah, quite a few weren't there, but it wasn't that easy. But we're going to bounce back this week. We're going to be zoned in and honed in on Sha Tin, and it's Saturday this week, of course, but I'm pretty confident we can bounce back.
RSI, you've never seen anything like it. hutchieshonkers.com. This man is in form and so close yet so far. I counted 6 seconds on Wednesday night, but don't worry, we've still got a smile on our face.
I had 3 bets and 2 ran second and 1 run third, but ended up winning because they're all about 250, 260 a place. So that was something, but it wasn't an easy night on the dirt, but it never is, but there was value.
What about last Sunday? How did you perform?
I won last Sunday, but it's a long time ago. It seems
It's a long time ago.
I was just, when you said that, I was honestly trying to think, what did I back last Sunday? And I couldn't quite think, but I did win last Sunday.
Oh, fantastic. Hey, we've got so much to look forward to. I'm really keen to catch up with Umberto Rispoli. He's going to be our very special guest and our star power. But as always, let's start the show by bursting out of the gate. Let's burst out of the gates, and Hutch, we start with Senor Toba. Small field, expected to get the job done, got the job done. What's next?
Well, interesting sort of race again. They absolutely crawled. Look, he was in a world of pain, Joe Moreira. Zach was sort of had him locked away back towards the inside, really. And Joe at this stage was trying to angle out, and then when Chadwick rolled off the inside, he presented the path through for Joe. So, look, he's fortunate. I think it could have been interesting had he had enjoying actually stayed where he was, Shane. But look, he's a nice 1.5 mile horse. I think he'll be competitive, I suppose, going forward over that distance range. But that's what he's going to need.
That's all he is, Clint. We discussed it last week. He's not a miler. He's not a 2,000. He's a 2,400 metre horse to 32. He'll keep going all day. The sting out of the track helped him. He had everything in his favour. Oh, mind you, in saying that, they didn't go fast. And the faster they go in a 2,400 metre race, the better he's going to be, because he will not stop. He'll just keep coming. And I suppose the Chartered Cup, or whatever it's called, 2,400 Group 1, he's going to be the horse to beat, no doubt, because he won't stop.
And what did you think tactically there with, Chadwick sort of led up and just rolled off and presented the run through to Joe in the end? It was, sort of, he was going to be in a sticky situation, Joe.
Well, watching the race, my first view was I was shocked, actually, Joe sat third fence, because he was off the fence after 100 metres and there was no pace in the race before the race, and they were always going to go slow. And I just thought Joe would sit outside the leader, and he kind of come back and went in. And once he did that, he was being dictated to and he couldn't do anything about it. So he had to wait for the run. But it was a little bit rain affected. And when tracks are rain affected, you get a little bit more room because horses roll and you come off the fence. So he got a little bit lucky in the straight, but the horse was just too good.
And team, are we forgiving of Russian Emperor going towards that Champions and Chater? Would Russian Emperor be one that we'd be forgiving?
I think, his best performances this year have been great. So I suppose you'd have to be a little bit. And he did pull up a little bit lame after one of those recent runs. So whether or not all's 100% with him, I'm not sure. But you need to be on song, that's for sure. But they got to pass all their vet checks and everything. I think Senor Toba will step up over 1.5 miles, but he won't if they crawl like they did there. And like Shane said, he liked the conditions, but you might get similar conditions at this time of year. It's monsoon also. Who knows?
Yeah, Shane. Hey, Galaxy Witness made it 4 in a row. What's next, and what did you make of him?
Very nice horse. He's done nothing wrong. He had a very nice run in the race. He come up and he quickened. He's done this every run. He looks a very nice horse. He's going to Class 1 and Group Company probably. You can't knock him, Clint. He looks the goods.
No, very impressive. I mean, I love that Casper he won 3 with him. He gave him effectively a little freshen up, which I think's good for a lot of these horses. And he came back and won nicely. He's I don't know where the ceiling is with him. It was a really good performance. He's shown that he can handle any ground as well. And it's hard to do. 4 from 4 in Hong Kong is very, very hard to do. The best usually do that. So it's hard to do anywhere, but it's especially hard.
But that makes him group class in your mind?
On his numbers, he's got to improve, but he will. He'll keep raising the bar. And that was a good performance. But he's a nice improving horse who might get even better over further too.
Hey, Shane, also, how important was Luke Currie getting that double? Suddenly he's been injured. He started straight away with a good win. Then he got injured, which was so disappointing. He's back now and a good double.
Really good. Very important. When you get injured and you've had time off, you've got to come back and have winners. Otherwise, you're forgotten in Hong Kong. And the Chinese make excuses and say, oh, not lucky or not good. So it was fantastic. But not only that, he rode both horses sensational. Gave them great rides. You'll see this horse here. He was wide the whole way, amazing teams. But he won the race at the 600 metres when he pushed, United Spirit back in, which was Blake Sheen. And he ended up running second. Now, if he had got out there, he may have won. He's riding very, very well, and it was evident on Wednesday, and he's only just come back. So I know people say, oh, it's important to get 2 wins from John Sires, and he'll help him. John don't care. It will mean nothing to John. John goes with who's riding for him. Like if Joe wants to ride these next time, Joe will be on them. Although at present, John is going a little bit away from Joe in a lot of races I've felt lately.
Yeah, it looks that way. And look, I agree. I think Luke's done, rode both horses exceptionally well. 3 wide trail he got into this with this horse. Amazing teams. And the part of the race that he's mentioned, as Shane mentioned, is just coming up now. And the white colours, Blake Shing, you can see just popping up there inside him. And he just holds his line here, Shane, Luke Currie, and it was the winning of the race.
Oh, he pushed him back in. He really did. And he rode him up and just kept him there. And that was the difference between winning and losing. And you see here how Blake's got to go back in and just gets that interrupted and can't go for his horse here. And he's still looking for a run. He hasn't got that clear run. And the other horse, Amazing Teens, has got his momentum up and it's gone clear. Whether the second horse wins or not is debatable, but he definitely goes close to winning.
Hope he can stay happy in Hong Kong. He's only had 39 rides for the season because he's been injured. 3 wins straight away. So Sophia and the family can come up and they can settle in. We know that Blake Shin's coming home. Daniel Moore's made his way back and straight away got a Group 1. It'd be great for Luke and also for Australian racing betting into Hong Kong for interest if Luke can establish himself.
And if he keeps riding like that, he'll be successful. And he's it's hard to have to effectively start again, but if he continues to ride like that, and I think he's given, he's been on a lot of horses that have been longer priced runners in the market. So it's that from that point of view, it's been a little bit difficult. But I mean, even those 2 winners were $20 plus, and they might have been a little bit big, but bigger than they should have been. But he's riding well. He continues to ride like that, and he can get some support of John Sires or David Hayes, David Hall, but more also the local trainers. There's no fear that he'll do well. That's for sure.
Training Premiership, FC Law, 68, Jay Size, 67. So a change at the top. AS Cruz, so Tony Cruz at 53. What about the jockeys, Shane? We keep talking about the fact that, Joe's got the best book and Joe should be streaking away. He's still only 2. Zach's hanging in there. So Joe leads by 2, 111 versus 109.
We're going to be saying there's 3 weeks to go, the same as what we've been talking about. It's very close who's going to win. It's going to come down to suspensions. Joe's got the big advantage of the 115 he can ride, so he can get on horses at 113. Zach's limited to 120s. Now, that's a huge advantage, because you're getting on nice young horses that are going from class 4 to class 3 that just win, and Joe just gets on them. But it's going to be very tight. Both are riding well. I'm not knocking either one. They're both riding winners, and it's going to be very interesting.
50 less rides, Zach versus Joe, and Joe leading by 2. So that's our bursting out of the gate. So we're going to change pace. I know the part of the show you all love, though. The jockeys tremble RSI in the hot seat.
They sweep for home now. Veandercross has come very wide. Veandercross answering the urgings of Shane Dye. Mannerism coming at him. Mannerism has got it.
Daring tactics by Shane Dye. He's got Octagonal in full flight on the corner. Bold tactics by Shane Dye are going to pay off, and he pinches the Chipping Norton.
Genius or Slaughter, Veandercross, Ocky. They're the themes that we've got for Shane Dye. The Hall of Fame jockey casts his eye over the rides during the week. And Shane, where do we start?
This is interesting. We're going to do it a little bit different. And this is my pet hate, pace early in the race. Now watch this, the bottom one, the top one first. This is Alexi Badel. The horse didn't jump that well, double six pot, but he hunts up. Now the times are going to come up here and you'll see the times. And the bottom one, he's on the horse on the outside, which is Voyage Star. Now, he digs up here to hold his spot and lead. He's run a 21.2. That's like Usain Bolt running an 8.6 for 100 metres. It just shouldn't happen, right? And in the bottom one, he's taking Zach on and he's run a 21.2. Now, this is a wet track. You shouldn't be running a 22 on these tracks. Now, I've got to say, double Popstar did pull up with mucus, blood, and I think he's Aurora, and he stopped, and that may have been why he stopped. But you can't do that on a horse. Last week, I brought it up. The bottom one, Voyage Star's been racing very well. He stopped, run nowhere, worst run in a long time. Double Popstar's been racing well, but also he struggles at the 1400, and he had 133 pounds. You cannot do that. It's a joke. You got to give him a chance. Take a sit. And I'm going to show why it's a joke. On the same day, there's two other races, and we've got Zach on packing treadmill down the bottom. He tries to lead, and up the top, Saquon with Joe. Now, you watch the times that they run here. It's totally different. Now, when Zach can't lead, he comes back and sits behind this horse. He's run a 22.69, which is like 10 lengths slower than the previous race. And the top one is a 23.02, which is like 10 lengths to 11 lengths. So if double Popstar or whatever its name was in that race, he would have been 10 lengths in front of these horses. And you watch these horses kick. Now, I know they've got ability. They were favourites and always probably going to win the race. But they kicked because they didn't run 21s. They run a 23.03 and a 22.69. And that's the difference. And this is what I've been trying to say for weeks. You can't run 21s early, putting pressure on your horses. It's impossible. I know one of the horses won the previous race running at 21, but he was down in class and he had a wet track, which he loves, and he was in form. But good ride, Zach and Joe there, but they're on the best horses. Bad ride, Alexi Badel. I also want to give a mention, and it may not come up. On Wednesday night, I watched a race at Caris Teton on Berlin Tango. Unbelievable ride. Very, very good ride. Went back on the fence, never won. It went around a horse and won on the dirt. But I think you understand now what I'm trying to say about pace, Richo.
Yeah, no doubting.
Shane, just on that. Now, we saw, I think in Australia in the last 12 months, Hugh Bowman, he got suspended, didn't he? And I think he might have got off for a period of time when he went very hard. It might have been on farming or something, on one of those. Do you think that it's something that the stewards maybe need to look at in terms of, it's a hard one, but, you know, jockeys going basically too quick? I know they might be, warned or whatever. Is it time that they need sort of even more action taken when they just give them they just go too hard?
That's a hard one because the trainers are telling them to lead. And they just go in there and say, well, the trainer told me. And that's my pet hate, right? I never listen to trainers, even if they told me to lead. If you're going too fast, you can't win the race, so you can't lead. And you come back in, the trainer goes, well, why didn't you lead? Well, look at the pace of the race. They're going too fast. If I lead, it's ridiculous. So, but a lot of jockeys I'm finding today, as Zach said last week, which I said, he won't be going too fast on, what was it? California Spangle.
Yeah.
When he said, he's got to lead no matter what. And I said, afterwards, don't listen to that. He won't lead if they're going too fast. He's too good. Well, you're seeing packing treadmill then. He took a sit back off him. It's a hard one because it's a little bit the trainers to blame. because they're putting too much pressure on these jockeys, and the jockeys don't want to make a mistake and do the wrong thing. But then again, to counteract that, the jockeys are giving the horse no hope to win by running 21-2. What hope have you got? You got no hope.
No, I agree. But I also agree with what you said there, Shane. The reason why I'd rather see races they go too quick, Richo.
Yeah.
And I think this is one good thing about Hong Kong racing than too slow. We have a too slow disease down here in Australia, and particularly in Victoria, where some of them, they just absolutely crawl. And early in the season, it was a little bit like that. We had a lot of slowly run races, and it can really make the form harder. So at least when they go quick, okay, you're going to cop it one day where you might get pressured, etc. But I think
best horse wins.
Generally, it helps. And Shane, that's my point of view. And I think that's most punters' point of view in Hong Kong.
That's very true. I would rather a race with a lot of pace where they're going to go fast. You can predict the outcome of it than a race going slow. When it goes slow, anything can win on pace. And we see that anywhere, whether it be Hong Kong or Australia. The best horse don't win because they get back and it's impossible to make up the ground. But there comes a fine line between running a 21.2 and a 22, which is respectable. You know what I'm trying to say?
Oh, totally. And but Shane, just give us the understanding from you, as an elite jockey in regards to these are flight animals. So when you actually give them a little let's go early, is there moments where they've just got away from you? Say Alexi, he goes, let's go, and then the horse just takes off on him? That fine line, and that's a real test.
Not when you're going that pace. He could have taken a sit there easy, just like the kid last week on whatever it was I brought up. He could have taken a sit. He didn't want to take a sit. He wanted to force the issue. And the worst thing was the grey horse is coming across, and he wants to lead. He's bustling him to lead, and the horse can't go any faster. So he's dug up then. The only time a horse will travel hard with you normally is in a staying race or a mile or 2,000 when you're a little bit slow to jump and you give it a little bit of a dig to be closer, and then it'll race up on the bit and pull. But not in 1200s like that or 1400s when they're going that fast. They don't.
But what about experience? And you, with a great CV, arrived in Hong Kong. The experience to actually say to a trainer, I know you wanted me to lead, however, they were going too fast, as opposed to a young jockey who's purely following instructions.
But most of the jockeys riding in Hong Kong outside the kids from Hong Kong are experienced and should know. But unfortunately, they still don't want to do anything wrong, and they listen to them. And what I used to do is, if I knew someone wanted to lead, I would go out there and say, ABC has pace and want to lead. I may not be able to lead this, so I may have to take a sit. So you alert that to them. If they're doing their form correctly, they should be able to say that and have plan B in their mind.
Brilliant. Into the classroom. Up next, Hong Kong Racing School. Into the classroom we go with the Hong Kong Racing School. And Hutch, we start with you. Accessing Stewards reports and anything catch your eye during the week?
Well, it did actually. Of course, we had a protest last weekend, and protest lodged by Zach Purton, who finished second in a race.
Purton versus Hewitson.
Yeah, and Cheval Valiant, of course, and got some, the Stewards reports. I mean, this is one of the good things. I mean, obviously you get them everywhere in the world, but they're very thorough in Hong Kong. Kim Kelly and his panel, exceptional as usual, and run a very tight ship. And what I like about it over there, they're very consistent, so you kind of know where you're going most of the time as well. I think as a pundit or a punter, you've got a fair idea on what will transpire. And we did have an interesting situation with a protest. I haven't asked Shane what his thoughts were, but Cheval Valiant is in the middle of the screen as it highlighted there. Shifts out as Zach makes his run. They make heavy contact there. And Cheval Valiant ends up sort of kicking on to come away and win quite convincingly on the line. Whilst it was pretty good contact, Shane, he was very strong through the line. The eventual winner, Cheval Valiant, and I think it was the right decision on the day.
Yeah, it was the right decision. If he hadn't got away from the second horse the last, say, 30, 40 metres, it would have been overturned for sure. But the last 40 metres, that horse got away a good neck from him. And that's why the stewards kept it the way it was. If he hadn't have got away and he would have won by a nose or a head, there's no risk in the world that would have been overturned and the second horse would have got it. They're pretty good, the stewards. They know. Well, so what happens in the stewards' room, you have about, 6, 7, it's always an odd number of stewards, and they all have a vote, and some will vote upheld, some will vote dismissed, and then it's the majority gets it, of course.
And Shane, is it like Australia and other parts of the world where the jockeys get to give evidence and trainers get to give evidence and plead their case, or do the stewards just look at the vision?
No, you get to plead a case there, just the same as in Australia. So you go, I don't think the press are allowed in Hong Kong. They weren't when I was there. Whether it's changed or not, I'm not too sure. Now, in Australia, they can go. They weren't in Melbourne, but I think that's changed now, hasn't it, Clint?
Yeah, no, the press certainly can be, but during COVID, they then put it all in-house, but then now that COVID's over, thankfully, unlike, remember the Cox Plate where we're peering through windows trying to get some sort of vision, now we're back to...
Once upon a time, they were allowed in Sydney, but not in Melbourne, the press. That changed a little while ago. Well, when I was riding, they weren't allowed in Melbourne for a while.
Both allowed in. So when you were a senior rider and you made your way into a protest and you're up against a young rider, was that an opportunity for you to show your legal skills?
I kind of knew what I was doing in the room. There's times where you got to be aggressive and there's times where you put it onto them. I remember going in there one day, tie the knot in the Ramvet, and I pushed Glenn Boss back in on Darazari, I think it was called, and he ran second and he protested. And I looked at the video and I said, what am I going to say here? I'm going to lose this for sure, because I did push him in. So you got to make up a story. But no,
Well, tell us, what story did you make up?
Well, that I would have won the race when I probably would have still won the race if I hadn't put it in. But the interference I caused that horse, he had to get the race. And I come back and said to the owner, Sandy Tate, we're going to lose this. Can't do much about it. And then he come out the following week and beat the second horse by 3 or 4 lengths, I think, in BMW or Mercedes. But there's times to talk and there's not times to talk in the room. My favourite thing it was funny. I'll give you an example about that. You know, the Cox Plate last year. So they have it on the TV, and I'm at a venue with some people watching it, and they all thought it would be upheld. And I said, no, it's going to be dismissed. And they looked at it and said, why? I said, 1, it's a Cox Plate. 2, because there's that much publicity against the Irish, right, that it would be a big against overseas horses, I should say. And 3, sometimes a jockey can say too much in the room. And I said, Craig's very good. And if he goes on and on and on, it could be too long and too much. And that's exactly what I said to the bloke. And sure enough, it was overturned. But I'm not blaming Craig. He would have put up a good case because he knows what he's doing and he talks well. But if I'd seen that video, I would have gone in there and said, well, sir, it's no point me even talking. I would have won the race for sure. You can see that on the film. It's up to you. You are experienced people. You're smart. You can see on the film. And I would have shut my mouth instead of rambling on for 15, 20 minutes.
But it's an interesting one as well with the margin, and even the margin in that race and the margin in this particular instance with Noble One and Cheval Valiant, because it was a neck. And Shane, I always find once you're getting up into that neck plus region, it's really, I mean, the stewards have, it seems like they've got to be pretty confident and it's got to be rather obvious for them to sort of turn it over, really, because that margin, it's pretty significant. When it starts getting tight, though, you don't really need much.
That's true, very true. As I said, if that horse hadn't got away the last 30, 40 metres, it was upheld for sure, that protest.
And that's the key part of the stewards' report here. The stewards further found that after being bumped by Cheval Valiant, Noble One continued to maintain a margin over that horse until passing the 50-metre marker, which Cheval Valiant then headed Noble One to win the race by a margin of a neck. So that was the key, Bat. The fact that he gathered himself, even though he caused interference, gathered himself and then went back past him.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you read it out better than I did.
Richo, there are protests where there's no right or wrong. You know, I've seen
that's cool.
like the Cox Plate last year, that could have gone anyway. That was a 50-50 call. I don't care if you can put any case to me, right? That was a 50-50 call. I don't think there's a right or a wrong in some protests, and the stewards might upheld it, but I can see a reason for them to dismiss it also, you know, as I could in the Cox Plate. And I saw a reason in the Cox Plate for it to be upheld also. So sometimes it's very hard for the stewards to keep everyone happy. And that's the thing. You're trying to get the right verdict and keep everyone happy.
They're not in the job of keeping them happy. They're in the job of making the right decision.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I think the point Shane making though about that some decisions can go either way. If there's not much of a margin, then there's grounds for a protest or an objection, and you honestly you have to look at it and go, well, if you haven't had a wager on the event, you look at it objectively, you can go, well, it could probably go either way. And I agree. I mean, we did the Cox Plate last year, and the more I was watching it. Initially, I thought, no, that this will probably be, dismissed. But the more I watched it, the more I thought, actually, this might well be upheld, and it could probably go either way.
But you're right; it depends on who you. I mean, I was futures on State of Rest, so I'm like dismissed. The more I watched it, still dismissed, and then I was like, oh, I want to watch it.
As long as you get the reasons, and I think they put them in the stewards' report, you've got to, I think, in time when you look back, you go, well, that's a fair enough call on it. They've got to make their call. They probably don't get everyone right, but as long as the reasons are there, that's all you can expect.
I love learning.
Actually, Richo, there was one when I was doing racing.com with you and that about 5 or 6 years ago, Melbourne Cup Day. I think it was the Dalgety. And it could have gone either way. It was Gay Waterhouse's race, and you just had me on TV saying, well, which way they're going to go? And I said, it's 50-50. Like, there's no right or wrong here. It can go either way. The funny story was I went into the jockey's room after the last and then come back, and the head steward come up to me and he said, what did you think of the protest? Did we get it right? And I said, it was any call. He actually asked me what I thought, and I said, there's no right or wrong with that protest. You've got it right. But I could understand if you went the other way too. So sometimes it's very difficult.
Considering the amount of money we were paying you, we were hoping you would have a definitive answer, RS.
You couldn't pay me for the third year though, could you?
You broke the bank, big boy. Let's add some more star power to the show. We're going to add some significant star power to the show. He was a champion jockey in Italy. He was a Group 1 winning jockey in France. He eventually made his way over to Hong Kong, and now he calls America home. His name is Umberto Rispoli, who joins us now. Umberto, buongiorno, come stai?
Hi, Jason. How are you? How are you guys?
We are fantastic, mate. Thank you so much for joining us. There's so much to talk about. We're doing it right on the eve of the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby. We'll get to there in a moment, mate. But firstly, how are you settling into the States? Are you enjoying your time there?
Yeah, it's been a long journey for me. I was looking for something like try to stabilize myself with a family, but so far I really enjoy it. It's almost 3 years we are in America, and we just love it. It was the best decision I could make it.
Yeah, it's great to hear you having a good time over there in Umberto. It's obviously just looking back at Hong Kong, we'll touch on that briefly. It's a competitive environment, obviously got a young family, but how do you view back your time over there?
Look, I have some good memories. And I would say the first year I hit Hong Kong, it was in 2012, but just for a small stint, and I really enjoy it. Then, obviously after a couple of years, I decided to move there like full season, try and have a couple of full season. And to be honest with you, Clint, it was pretty good. There's a lot of results. Until I have my third season, I had a fall, I've broken my knee. And that was a little bit tough to come back, building up the business again. Even if I supposed to be on the bench 6 months, I come back in 2 months and I have to ride the Classic Mile. So I end up winning 14 races that season, but only riding a couple of months, 3-4 months probably. And the following season was starting pretty well, and I fall again. I broke my collarbone on the barrier trials. So then, how Hong Kong is, there is not many trains they go around, and the only nice souvenir I have with me is my white hair, and I spend some time over there.
But you did have a fair bit of, quite a bit of success early on. But we've spoken to different jockeys in recent episodes on this show. But What do you think was the hardest part for you about Hong Kong? I mean, because we were sad to see you go because you're a very talented rider, but obviously you felt like you weren't getting perhaps the opportunities that you deserved.
Well, I think it's, if you might ask all the jockeys, probably they will tell you exactly the same thing. As much we respect the Zach and Joe, then they are the two kings, if we can call like this in Hong Kong. You can see the numbers of winners, the difference they make it every year, every season, because they have that power, that strength, and the people believe is more probably in them than instead to believe in the other 23, 24 or 5 jockeys in the roster. It gives them all the best horses and the best opportunities. So every time you are riding one horse, it's a question mark every time. Sometimes you know how it is, Clint. You never cross the wire, you're already off. So you don't have a lot of bullet in your gun, and once you shoot that bullet, you have to make sure you hit the target. Otherwise, they're gonna find another rider.
Umberto, what I found interesting was when you decided to leave Hong Kong, you didn't go back to Europe. You went to the USA. How did that happen, and why did you make that decision to go there and not back to your home ground of Europe?
Well, Shane, I'll tell you something very. I'll be very honest, and probably something that nobody knows. That's that end of the season that I had in Hong Kong that was actually going to quit. Like I was really, that game was really going to my mind. It was frustrating for me every time. Keeping the weight low every week, working hard, going to the gym, try the best as I can, read my form, going to the paddock, at 100 to 1 shot. So I was going to be on the work like depressed. I have no guts. I have no more way to wake up in the morning and go work horses. And I had a friend of mine, which is an Bloodstock agent. He's an Italian guy, and he has a well connection all around the USA. So he said, "Why you don't try America?" Because one day he called me home, and I was really, really bad on the couch. And I said, "Listen, to go to America, you really need a very solid agent for jockeys, because that's how the politics is here in the United States. So you really need a good agent to get very good horses." And he goes, give me a couple of days. So we keep in touch for a week. And I end up to meet Ron Anderson, probably, which is the best agent in America. He's actually, at the moment, he's the agent of Rosario and John Velasquez. And during the summertime, when we have the break, I take a flight. I went to America for a couple of days just to meet him and have an agreement with him and see if I was liking the environment, or, if I could love it at the same time. And then once I take the decision, I supposed to actually leave it early and not even renew my license in Hong Kong. But I do renew my license in Hong Kong because the time of the visa was very late. So I didn't expect to left Hong Kong in November, actually beginning of December. And once I had my visa in my hands, I respected the contract. I give a month notice to the club, and I decide to leave. So that's how the journey goes.
And it's been the best move. You enjoying it?
Yes, I can tell you definitely. For myself, for my family, as soon as I come back here, I find again, when you make a move, wherever you go, always it's good because you're starting again. You met new people. And obviously, when I was a kid, I always watching American races. So I've been fan for a long, long time. But yeah, definitely, I would say is the best move I could make it.
Just reflecting, just quickly reflecting on your time in Hong Kong for our Hong Kong audience, was the winner and rulership the highlight of your entire career there?
Absolutely. For me, I think he's even the best horse I ever ridden in my life. Because that horse, not even himself, he knows how good he could be. He was a very funky horse. He could, he could drop you going to the gate. He has such a bad character, and he was a bad breaker from the gate. But that day everything went perfect.
You had time to wave to the crowd, Umberto, as you crossed the post there. You could wave to the crowd.
Well, I remember like it was now, Clint, as I said, it was very emotional for myself because I rode the horse in Japan the year before, and I was very, very happy when I received the call from Yoshida to get engaged on the horse on that day. And I knew it, and he was the best horse in the race. I just, planning to make sure that he leaves the gate pretty well, and that's what happened. I find myself behind Douglas and Fefe, and going around the turn, Douglas let that gap open on the fence, and I say it's now or never. So I take that gap, but the rest is a story, is history.
Yeah, it was a great moment and a fantastic win, Umberto. Hey, just a quick question. The transition from racing, for example, in Europe, Hong Kong, and now in America, what are the big differences for you? The dirt racing, what are some of the aspects that are really, really, contrasting?
Definitely, as you said, Clint, the dirt racing, it's a very special because every state you go, the dirt is different. Some in California, for example, in Santa Anita, it's very heavy, as like Del Mar as well. Here in Kentucky, the dirt it's a little bit light, so it's difficult to adjust a ride. In Santa Anita, you always need to have a good break, be up there 1, 2, 3, and you might have a shot to win. Coming from behind, the 80% of the time is very, very tough, and the track plays a lot for front runners. So I would say then, that's the difference with the Kentucky, and the Kentucky, and I would say probably New York. Belmont has a very long stretch. You always have a chance to hit the board, even if you come from really further back.
And you're going to swap the bikinis for your wife and swap the bathers of beautiful California. And is Kentucky going to be home moving forward for you?
I wish it's going to be home for me. As I said, I made this move only 3 weeks ago. I actually planned to go to New York in the first stage. But after with my agent, we decided probably the best decision was to end up in Kentucky for a while. I think there is so much opportunities here. There is a lot of people there, horsemen. The environment is beautiful. Almost is this weekend. I think it's unfortunately I've never been at the Melbourne Cup because I just heard about it. But people then has been at the Melbourne Cup and has been at the Kentucky Derby. They say it's very similar even. So Kentucky is a beautiful place. It's the state of the horses. So I wish to doing well here.
And talking of that, Umberto, you got a ride this weekend, I should say, or coming up soon with the Oaks. How can you go in that?
Yeah, Desert Dawn, the Santa Anita Oaks winner.
Well, before the Santa Anita Hawks, I worked at the filly, and I was surprised how she improved from her previous start, and I was going to that race with a lot of confidence. After we was only 5 runners, and I think she really ran hard. The numbers figures here in the United States, they are pretty nice on her. And but it started to rain just a couple of hours ago, so tomorrow we're gonna have a very sloppy track, bad weather all day. And but in Kentucky here, you never know. You can wake up tomorrow morning, it's gonna be sunshine with 40 degrees, so you never know. So but yeah, definitely I have a lot of confidence in the filly. I'm on the outside. I would rather really be. I was happy to be on the 14, 13, but the 9 is a good number. I have just one probably horse faster than I, and going to the first turn to see where I can place her, and I wish she can run a huge race for me. Just
to get your quick thoughts on the Kentucky Derby, one of the great races in the racing world calendar.
Yeah, I think Zandon is the favourite, trained by Chad Brown, and Flavian Pratt is the rider. So that's the dominant favourite, just ahead of Ep8 with Rosario and Asmussen combining.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very open Kentucky Derby. It's going to be a very, very open race. I think everybody they have a shot. Even the horses are 20-1. Some horses I don't think the price are very loyal to them. As I think the Japanese horse had the breeze the other morning, he worked fantastic. I think if he really adapted himself to the track pretty well, he's going to be one of the contender of this race. As a horse I like as well is a Cyberknife. Is trained by Brad Cox. Is going to be ridden by Florent Giroux. I think he has an absolutely chance to run very well this Derby. I like the other horse of Top Fletcher, which is a Charge It with Luis Saez. I mean, it's a very open race. The main favorite for me has to be Ep8 because he beat all those horses before. So he's jogged. He really he really enjoy himself with them, and I think he's going to be the favorite. But this race, as a history says, then everything can really happen. So be prepared, guys. If the track, I mean, as I said, you might like the track might going to be dry for that day, but absolutely everything can happen.
The Japanese horse, could you believe that? Could they win a Kentucky Derby on a sloppy track? Hutch at around 20-1, horse number 7 in Crown Pride.
Well, it was a good win in Dubai, wasn't it? And Umberto, we've seen the Japanese travel around the world. Their horses at the moment, you wouldn't discard any one of them in any race.
I think they have the best breed horses over there. I mean, you can see all these horses. They powerful, they strong. They have a class. They have a nice blood. It's good. As I said, the breeding in Hokkaido is very good. So they are not afraid right now. Then they can see they can go around and they can win races. So this horse used to train on the wood chip and the dirt in Japan. So when he comes here and he finds the dirt this high, this little, for him is like running on the concrete. So I think he's well placed. He's well placed. And as I said, if he likes the track, he will be up there.
Fascinating also to get your opinion as to the condition of American racing. We're in Australia, which loves their racing. We talk to a Hong Kong audience, which is obsessed with racing. You've been in all areas and like Europe. What about the health and condition of US racing?
They absolutely, as I said, Jason, here in Kentucky, you can't believe, I think there was already, I would not say something crazy, but I think there was already 50, 60,000 people today at the track. And tomorrow is going to be the double, and the Kentucky Derby is going to be probably 150,000 people. I mean, it's insane. As I said, it's very difficult walking around Kentucky, Louisville at this time. There's so much people, and they're not afraid about the rain. Absolutely. You say tomorrow is going to be thunderstorm, raining, snowing. They say, no, we go to the Kentucky Derby. So they're really not afraid about that. And but as I can see here in Kentucky, actually, they're growing a lot, and the purses are going crazy. And there is, a lot of people, they are getting involved in the business, a lot of superstars, then a lot of VIP people, some actors, some NFL players. They're really involved in the business, and that's good. I mean, probably it's going to be tough to think one day that horse racing, they will be at the same level of the NFL in United States, because that's the main sport. But I can guarantee you tomorrow, all the country will watch this race. It's like for you guys watching the Melbourne Cup, exactly the same thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And listen, Umberto, we really appreciate your time, and you spoke so well. But just before we go, I just wanted to ask you, I was telling Jason Richardson earlier about you don't mind a race call. We won't ask you to obviously call one now, really? But it's something you used to like to do, and you don't mind the race calling side.
Yeah, I used to do, but Clint, I lost my touch. So it wouldn't.
Come.
I've got a funny story with Umberto, right? So
Have you?
I talk to Gerard sometimes, right, Umberto? And this is years ago when you'd got there. So I'm talking to him this day, and he goes, he goes, baby. He calls everyone baby.
We're talking about Gerard Mossé.
Gerard Mossé. He goes, baby. What about this little? I won't call the name that he used here about you. He said, I welcome him into my home. I said, I help him with rides. I show him Hong Kong, and he's taken my bloody daughter. He's fighting with her. He was filthy. So I'm telling you now, I'm glad you're still with her, and you've got 2 beautiful kids, because he might have shot you if you hadn't been.
Listen, I tell you in a couple of words how it goes. When I went in Hong Kong in 2012, it's true what he says. He really helped me a lot. And, for me, he was a legend. I mean, like in Europe, everybody, we used to watching him as a my age.
Roberto, he wasn't a legend. He still is a legend.
He's still a legend. Yeah, of course. Sorry. Yeah, I mistake. You're right, Shane. And, that we have I had that stint in a springtime, and then I come back in the winter time, and he comes to me and he goes, baby, what are you doing for Christmas? I said, Jay, I'm gonna stay here. I'm not gonna go anywhere. I might have a girlfriend coming from Italy and spend a Christmas because I have to go. I mean, there's no time to flying in and out from Hong Kong. And he goes, oh, shame, because I'm going to Thailand. Oh, I said, good. I said, what do you do there? He said, I have a house there. Oh, cool. My daughter is coming with me. I said, okay. Wait, no, that's the best has to come. So I told him, I say, okay, but the older one or the younger one? And he goes, no, my older. Oh, I say, okay. So then a couple of days later, I say, Jesus, I saw her only one time in France, actually. And it was on the Arc Day. I won the Prix Cadran that year, and Geraldo was riding that race, and he went scratch at the last minute. That's how I met Kimberly the first time. But Gerald always tell me, say, work around her. Don't try to approach her. I don't want to jockey for my daughter. So I say to this lady in Italy, I say, listen, I'm sorry, I'm apologize, but there's a different plan. So I was planning to go play my chance in Thailand with her, and guess what? We come back, and Gerald tells me, say, I don't like the way you are, guys. Look like you are too close. I say, well, if I'm gonna be honest with you, it's too late.
That is so
good. So when I left in February. I tell him, I say, Jerry, listen, because he was leaving after the Derby. So I say, listen, I don't want, and somebody reported to you something, I'm going to date your daughter once I go home. Oh, come on, baby. I was already forget about a month ago about the story because Kimberly went back to France. I said, listen, if he's going to work, it will work. I said, listen. So I said, I'm not really sure you're going to marry her. And I say, look, today we are in 2022 and I married her and I got 2 kids.
Oh,
that's how the story.
Great stuff. Well done.
He actually had that talk to me, and he called you so many names to me.
No, but today he's happy. I can tell you, he's a grandpa. He's very happy. He's very, very happy.
But I actually think his new baby, Gerard's, is younger than your kids. Is that true?
Okay. Yeah, let's change it. Let's talk about horse racing now. Let's go back to horse racing.
You are too smart. Umberto, you are a superstar, mate. We have loved chatting to you. I've got 2 mates who are going to the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby. They own a massive gin company in Australia. I've already told them that they've got to back every horse that you are riding throughout the whole time. You're on the Learjet that used to be trained by Michael Bell in a turf sprint. Yeah. Big price. Can that win?
He can. I think he can. I think he has a shot. He might gonna like the softer ground. He's an English horse. So he don't mind that. We have a brand new grass here at Churchill. It's been renewed. It's play a little bit. As he's a fast track. The front runner has a big advantage, but there is a pretty open. And I guess he will like the softer ground. Actually, I wish so. It could be my other chance with Desert Down for sure.
Okay, we'll clear out the liquor cabinet because if you can get a victory, there's a beautiful care package coming your way from the boys. They're all going to be cheering you on throughout. Umberto, it was absolutely fantastic to catch up with you. Good luck for the Oaks, and we'll be watching on for the Oaks and the Derby and betting into it, of course, with the Whirlpool in Hong Kong. Thanks so much for your time.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you. I always watching you guys when I have a shot. I like to keep following, watching in Australia. I got a bunch of friends, a bunch of riders. So when it's not too late here, I always I have the opportunity to watch racing. But I watched the interview with Zach and it was very nice. So
fantastic.
Well done.
Thank you.
Great stuff.
Mate. Bye.
We're racing on Saturday at in Sha Tin, Hutch, which is important to note. We're in your hands, hutchieshonkers.com for a full analysis, of course. We start with race number 3.
Yeah, it's a good race too, and I think an interesting race to have a look at. There's a look at my market. I've got I'm a Single Man, a $2.80 favourite over California Deep Shot, who's resuming. But a lot of these horses actually clashed in a recent race. We've got Silver Express, I'm a Single Man, the Golden Scenery, Master Montaro, Good Luck Friend, Hinch and Love, all competed in this race. And Zach got away with a complete and utter murder here out in the front. They left him alone. And I thought I'm a Single Man. Look, I'm not sure what the instructions were, but I thought this was an amazing run in defeat, really. Continued to go back Luke Ferraris in the early stages when I thought he could have been a lot closer. Unfortunately for us, who were on the day as well. But, went back. Near last in a sit and sprint affair and rallied very strongly. It was a terrific run. It was a bit of a shame about the result on the day. What price was he? $19. But he doesn't need to be that far back. He can be much closer in the run. Zach obviously saw the run and he's been happy to get on board him. I'd imagine here, Shane, he'll probably just pop onto the back of the speed. There looks reasonable tempo in it. There's a few that can go forward, and I thought he'd be the one to beat.
Well, looking at this, there's a ton of pace. You got California Deep Shot, the toppy. It can lead if they want. Silver Express can from gate 8. It's debatable whether he will. You go down. Good Luck Friend's been taking a sit, but if he wants to lead, he can. Hinch and Love can. Winning Method can. So they're not going to go slow in this. They're going to go along. It was a very good run. You're correct. He's going to be very hard to beat. I thought Good Luck Friend run well and is also racing well. Got a little bit of an awkward gate. He's not the worst, but I'd probably be with you. I'm a Single Man from Good Luck Friend, and I think it's actually a very open race. They're all racing well.
Yeah, if it's an even track, I think it's a nice race for I'm a Single Man. But the big improver for me, Shane, would be Master Montaro. Yeah. Blake got pushed out 4 wide without any cover in that slow race, and it probably wasn't the right kind of race for him either. He's best left alone, and I think he'll be a real improver. Here, there'll be good speed. You got Vincent Ho to ride. Vincent will just pop out and ride him quietly. And if it does set up for those run-on horses, at weights and measures, you go back through some of his early season form, and he's very, very well in. So, look, I've got him, I think, marked around that $12 mark. I think he'll be the one that I'm hoping can be a little bigger than that on the day. And I won't be losing if Master Montaro wins, that's for sure.
And just to interrupt you, he's had a trial since his last run, I think. And he trialled very well.
Has he lived up to what we thought he would do after he's Australian?
Well, he went there with a big boom. Of course, He won his first start.
He's two in Australia.
Yeah, he won his first 2, and then no, he probably hasn't. They thought he was something out of the completely special, but he's done well. It's not easy to go there and win first time out, and he's a nice horse. But I think early on, I remember Zach saying he was a little bit. He wasn't great in the barriers. He had a bit of an attitude problem. When he rode him, but he's settled in now. But he's probably not going to. He's not going to go to the very heights that they thought. But he can still make a lot of money up there at this level.
What about race number 7?
Another race that looks really competitive on paper as we have a look at it. This is a really interesting race for mine. And look, Run Cool, I would imagine will be favourite given his last 2 wins, and since the pacifiers have gone on down the straight. But there's a lot of horses that can win this race. Metro Warriors down in class. Alcari's been super consistent. And then we go all the way down to a couple of interesting runners in Power Kep, of course, who is now 3rd up and probably ready to peak against Run Cool, who he finished 3rd to last start, and a horse that's resuming after a long break in Summit Cheers. So I thought this was a really interesting race, Shane, as we take a look at Summit Cheers, who actually is coming back for David Hall. He went pretty well in a recent trial. He hasn't drawn the best side in Gate 1, Shane, but I thought Summit Cheers with the 119 on his back could be an interesting one.
Yeah, well, he's had problems, as you know, and he hasn't run for a year. I think he's had 4 trials this time in. I could be wrong. And his last trial was good. But, no, he loves the 1,000 metres. He's run a 55.31, and I always go on here. So he has run the time. I think it's a very open race. I think Pow Nap, the bottom one, will be very hard to beat on his last run. And with no weight, I think he meets the Run Cool about 8 pounds better, which is a lot. No doubt Run Cool's going to run well, but there are a few. But you're correct, Summit Cheers. Let me see, Power Nap, the top one, Metro Warrior, loves the 1,000 metres, coming down in class. He won't be far away either.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting betting race, I think, from that point of view. I mean, it's a kind of race Richo, where I could back, it'll just depend on where the market sort of ends. And I'm hoping that they're very strong on Run Cool once again. And that's not to say that he can't win, but I'm hoping that he's over bet, and then we can probably be on one of those others that we mentioned.
Yeah, the horse interesting in there, Clint, and they put out a price every time he goes round is Currie. They take him on, and he just starts ridiculous odds, and he keeps winning or placing. I think he's placed or won his last 5 starts up the straight there. And for some reason, they don't like him in the market. The market never likes him, and he always goes out overs.
Well, Shane, I think he is 3-zip against Run Cool as well. I know Run Cool's had the pacifiers go on and he's been improved, but I think when I was looking at the head-to-head sort of between the two of them, it was 3-0 to Currie. He might well go at a good price again.
Race number 8, 1,600 metres. We see Rocket Spade again. So Moreira rides Rocket Spade and Zach on Mr. Ascendancy.
Yeah, that's an interesting booking. Look, I think this is a potentially tricky race. I'll definitely be entertaining Looking Cool. I was a bit disappointed in last start, but, he just gets in so well weighted, and I think he gets a nice run in the race. But the two interesting runners here for me, sort of back against easier opposition. Rocket Spade's one. He ran on well the other day. And Bourbon Air, who's just been on the radar a little bit as well, Shane. Bourbon Air, he got home well at really both starts, to be honest, and he's another John Size runner going in third up.
I like Bourbon Air. His first up run was good. His last run was good. There was nothing wrong. He drops in class, and he's going to be hard to beat. Here's core partner Elites. He's racing well. He doesn't go bad. This race will suit him too, but there are a few. There's no doubt about that. But I'd pick out this horse here, co-partner Elites and Bourbon Air for me.
Yeah, co-partner Elites has got to be a great chance. What was good about this particular run was that they went quick. He was handy to that speed, and he battled on really, really well. Running Glory, it really, really set up for a run-on horse, which was where Running Glory was. So particularly brave performance. I don't think they'll go quite as quick in this race, and co-partner Elites looks a great chance.
Actually, there's no pace in this race, Clint, when you look at it. There's just nothing. There's no leaders. So, it's not going to suit a horse down the bottom like Millennium
Falcon. But Looking Cool can roll forward. He'll probably roll forward.
Gallant Crown can sometimes roll forward looking at this, but no, there's no pace in that race.
Who's your best for the weekend, Hutch?
Well, still sort of trying to
work your way through that.
Still working.
Well, you need to fast track it because it's Saturday.
Well, I do. I'm a single man. Will definitely be a bet for me, I would imagine. But I might, in the same race, be having something small on Master Montaro if we can get the right price. He's going to need to be a little bit of value. I may shorten him in a little bit if I have another look at the market later today. But at this point in time, definitely I'm a single man. Will be a bet.
HutchiesHonkers.com. Shane, now the fact that we're racing on Saturday, not Sunday, you had to fast track your form as well. Has something jumped off the page?
Race 6, I like, it's a 2-horse race to me. California Vines will lead or be up there, and he's racing very well, and Zach's on him. But I was very impressed last start, and I liked him last start, and he was about 50 to 1 off, what was he, $40-something, $45, which was wrong. He trialled very well a horse number 1 called Enchanting Ibis. Okay, so before his first run, he trialled really well, and I thought he was a nice horse and went well. In his first start, he pulled up with mucus and went no good, right? So next start, he goes around, he gets beat, he's $45, but he had an excuse first up. Now, he got back and hit the line really well and was impressive winning in good time. Now, he's trialled since then, and at the trials, he looked really good. He's improved again, this horse, so he'll get back. He's got 133 pounds. It's just a matter whether he can pick up California Vines or not.
Yeah, I've had a look at that race, and I'm going to have California Vines pretty short. It was a really good effort last start. I didn't really like him that day, but he's going to land on speed, and that could be the little query with Enchanting Ibis. I suppose, Shane, he might get it back a little bit, and Zach's going to be up there probably in pole position.
Well, he's got the right jaws, Zach, because he's drawn wide, which I love on leaders, because the horse that may lead ran on Wednesday night called Fantasia Spring. Now, if he leads, Zach can sit outside of him, but he doesn't. He can just get an easy lead in front. So gate 9's perfect. He'll just come across and either lead or sit outside of him. So he is going to be very hard to beat.
Super Show team, RS, Umberto. What a highlight he was.
He's outstanding character. lovely person, and I'm glad that Gerard's accepted him into the family now.
Great insight, mate.
He was really good to talk. He's a very affable young man, isn't he? And I really hope he does well in the States. And let's hope we can get him, back down to Australia or perhaps back to Hong Kong at some stage to ride a big race, because he's certainly a very talented rider as well.
We need to buy a horse that's going to be in some good races somehow. That's your job. And we need to get him down. And what an engagement that would be. Hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to your company next week.